This Life Ain't For Everybody Breaking It Down series. Hopefully y'all are enjoying our new little sub-series here off of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Doesn't mean we're not going to have the ball players and the musicians and the military and the doctors and the fighter pilots and all of the different walks of life that you've become accustomed to here at the podcast. But we just like to break down certain topics that are just on the top of my mind. And, you know, you've been hearing about beards and you've been hearing about celebrities and relationships and cocktails. And what else have we broke down? It's hard for me to remember. We've done so many of these things.
Yeah, we broke down you not drinking for 30 days.
How lame that was. I did that. That was lame. Then I shaved my beard off, and that's lame.
Your beard shaved
I'm
off.
totally going just total hipster.
Maybe you've broken down.
Hipsters have beards. What is a hipster?
Somebody that's hip, I guess.
Yeah, but is it a hippie? Or what is a hipster? I don't even know the definition of a hipster.
Man bun. I think you have to write your memoirs on a typewriter. You have to have a man bun. You have to like food. You have to be a foodie.
But that's still not a definition of a hipster.
I know. I don't know.
What do they live for? Like, what is it? They believe in the 60s?
Those are hippies. Is a hipster
I know, but
hippie?
the hipsters believe in that time frame, but they don't wear bell bottoms. They believe in long hair, but they don't believe in having it down, so they man bun it up. They believe in that kind of music, but they try to create their own, so they get a guitar and sit on the street corner. I don't understand what a hipster is.
How come they're all foodies too? I don't think.
What
the
is a
hippies
foodie? And where does that name come from?
Like you go to all the hip new restaurants in town and you give them positive or negative Yelp reviews based upon food and service. And
so a foodie is a critic?
Yeah.
So what if you don't critique other people's food, but you love food and you love to cook? Are you a foodie?
See, I don't think they cook.
They don't cook?
I don't believe so.
But they just they think their taste buds are there.
I think so.
Have you
That's
ever
an
seen
interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting take on it, isn't it? How dare you criticize somebody's food if you can't make your own?
Well, remember the movie Chef? Have you seen Chef with Jon Favreau?
Yeah.
Remember how he's in the restaurant, Dustin Hoffman's the owner, and he gets the terrible review, and then they challenge the writer to come back in, but Jon Favreau gets fired, but that writer wants to, gets yelled at by Jon Favreau, like, who are you to critique my food? I'm an executive chef, all these years of training and traveling the world and learning the art of culinary and all this stuff. Who are you just to sit on your little typewriter, your keyboard. iPad or keyboard or whatever and say that meal sucked? So that guy, I'm wondering if that guy had credibility. Like, did you train in France? Did you train under Wolfgang Puck or one of, there's way better chefs than that, I'm sure. But did you train culinary to ever be able to say, well, this meal sucked? Like,
it just hit me. We talked about sushi and you talked about, you're not making that big, huge bowl of soy sauce and dunking it in, but that's what a lot of people do. And,
it's not how you eat sushi. But then again, I'm an asshole for telling somebody how to eat sushi.
No, but if you think about that, I mean, it's weird that if you don't know what you're doing, and I mean, it's preference, right? I mean, are these fries too salty for you? Is that, steak too smoked for somebody else? But people that are trained, people that understand, just like you said with the sushi, it's not meant to be dunked in a bowl of soy sauce and a pound of wasabi, and that's the truth.
Well, when you cook potatoes and you learn how to do, let's say, crispy hash browns on a flat iron, and you use the right chemistry of good olive oil, salt and pepper mixture, the right temperature, the right internal temperature of the potato, giving the outside the crisp that you want, the first thing people do is douse it with ketchup.
Yep.
Ketchup's a strong taste. It's got a ton of sugar in it. It's sweet. It's something that has become a crutch. So my whole thing is with eggs too, we never take the time to just put our fork down in an omelet and taste the linguiça or the chorizo or the sausage or the bacon or the mushroom or the pepper. We douse it in hot sauce and all of that stuff and ketchup. I understand that, well, that's the flavor I want. Well, the flavor profile of food is special without that. I'm not saying that a little drop of Tabasco here and there doesn't enhance a culinary experience. By no means. But if you watch Tyson put hot sauce on a burrito, he's not even tasting that burrito. So you can't say that burrito is better than that burrito. Like Casa Lupe in Gridley, California is better than any Taco Bell on any corner in America if you're dousing it with 10 ounces of hot sauce. And then sushi, I'll finish with, is that fresh fish is flavorful on its own. Yellowtail has a different flavor than salmon, that has a different flavor than tuna, that has a different flavor than fatty tuna, that's different than octopus, that's different than unagi. All of them are different. So if you just dip it in that wasabi ginger or wasabi mixed with soy, you can't tell me that soy sauce isn't one of the most pungent, strong tastes out there as far as seasoning ointments go or sauces go, right? It's like, why would you, what you're not really tasting the fish is my point. And then if you get a big sushi roll, American style roll, it's full of mayonnaise and hot sauce and teriyaki sauce and plum sauce and sweet sauce and all this stuff. You're not really getting the fish. So do you really like raw fish, or do you just like all that bullshit that comes along with it?
And that kind of goes back to like a review, right? Did you put the wrong kind of hot sauce on your food? Did you put too much ketchup on your hash browns and now you're blaming the restaurant? Or did you really take a bite of it did you oversalt your stuff when it came over, or did you try it right when it got there and you didn't agree with it? It's funny. It's an interesting topic, and I've got some experience in the restaurant world. And, I a lot of times, especially like with steaks and burgers and stuff, people order that stuff well done, or they want some crazy, almost unhittable meat temperature. And then they want to complain, steak well done. You should just know that it's not good that way. It might be what you like.
Have you ever thought of how somebody gets to that point? Because there's no way that if you eat a filet mignon the right way at 131, 133 degrees internal temp, with the right dry rub or the right salt and pepper mixture on it, the right char, and the right reverse sear, that you can eat that same piece of meat well done at 155 degrees and go, well, that was nice.
No, I don't know how it's done.
But have you ever thought about how people get to that point? Like, how do they get to there? Like, do you know anybody that orders everything well done?
I don't. Jilly orders medium well, which is too much. I hate going to the steakhouse with her, and she knows that she's not ordering it correctly, but she doesn't like, the raw meat. She doesn't like sushi either, so, I don't know, maybe if is it a bad experience, or is it inexperience? I tend to lean towards inexperience, right? I think that most people are going to tell you rare, medium rare, something like that. That's the only way to have a steak. People get a misconception of it. They might have never even tried it. Or maybe somebody served somebody some blue rare or something, that was way too far the other way, and it's soured them on the experience. I don't know.
So it's kind of like self-proclaimed influencer. I saw this thing today where this good-looking girl was, my buddy sent me a copy because they know I love to rap. They know I love hip hop and I love to freestyle and all that. So this girl's lip syncing a very nasty Eminem song, but she's good at it. She's got the timing, and you can tell that she's got the right body parts moving as far as her hands like this, and she's got the body motion with her neck and everything. So she kind of has the rhythm of the Eminem beat. But I'm watching it, and it says on her thing that she's a self-proclaimed influencer. And I thought that was so cool that she knows that that's what she is. Because in today's world of social media, everybody is an influencer. Everybody is Insta famous. Everybody is now what we're talking about, a foodie. Mm-hmm. So if you're an ambassador for a gun company, but you really aren't that proficient with the gun, you just have 100,000 followers because you're cute, or you have a six-pack of abs, or you're well-spoken, or whatever.
You got some stick you do.
You just put out a little thing, 20% off if you use this code. You get this off of this holster or this gun or whatever. That's not credibility in the marketplace. Mm-mm. That's kind of gone out the window. So with Foodies, I'm wondering if it's the same thing. Like, if you're going to go to a restaurant and critique it, what means do you have to get a reader to put credibility and trust in you to not go there if it's negative, or to go there if it's positive?
Yeah, and I think that's a big complaint in the world nowadays, right? I mean, at least from a business standpoint, is that, everybody's got this real loud voice now. And like you said, who are you to, critique somebody's food? Everybody knows what service is, right? If you got bad service and that's your deal to go onto a review site and do, but food, you're right. I mean, if you can't cook it, or if you don't know the elements of it, or I mean, what if you ordered something that you're not used to eating?
But do you? But like if you grew up eating your mom and dad's cooking and you've become accustomed to gravy that tastes this way, or macaroni and cheese that was cooked this way, or lasagna that your mom did, your mom might have made a great lasagna, might have baked a great apple pie. But then you go to a restaurant, it doesn't live up to your expectations based on what your mom did. Then you have to ask the question, well, was your mom trained, or were you forced to like it, or are you just used to that style? Or have you really had a good macaroni and cheese that's done right with the right flavor profiles, but you're not accustomed to that or not used to it. So then when you do finally experience it, you're like, whoa, that's not what macaroni and cheese is supposed to taste like. So you've automatically, it's average, right? Because it's not like mom's.
It's funny you bring up mac and cheese, because that mac and cheese that you make is way different than, what a lot of people would consider mac and cheese. And if you love that orange cheese flavored macaroni and cheese and you try a real one, with like a 3 cheese blend that's got all the other elements to it, yeah, you're absolutely right. You're going to go, Kraft is way better than this, or, whatever your orange colored one is different. But in actuality, that one that is made with all the different cheeses and all that is 100 times better macaroni and cheese.
So what is a foodie?
Now I'm rethinking what a foodie is. They think they've lost all credibility with, Christy Crabtree, I think, would call herself a foodie. She's also a hell of a chef. So she's got every right to be one, right?
Well, according to who?
I guess anybody that would follow her or take her as an influencer, right? I would give her credibility. She can cook, and she could probably critique food.
I'm not saying that she doesn't have credibility, because I know her and I know that she does. But let's say that Christy Crabtree or Nevada Foodies is just somebody that we don't know.
Yeah, then that's what I mean. Who knows now? That's why I'm starting to question all of it.
Is it just that you have a passion for food, so you like, I'm a foodie?
No, but that's not fair. If you just listen to the last 10 minutes. But you're not
really a critique, though. You're not really a critic, I should say.
I think most of those people use one of those platforms, though, and they are critics. You know what I mean? I think that's an element to being a foodie, is that they've got that Yelp page or whatever it is, and they go on there and critique places that they eat. I think that's part of it. So, yeah, now I'm frustrated even more. I don't think
Okay, so if you're a critic, which I guess we're breaking down critics today. I was thinking last night about what movie's funnier, Wedding Crashers or The Hangover Part 1. And I started thinking about all the different parts and the theme and the plot of the movie and like how genius both of them were. So I guess we'll have to do that on another episode. But let's take The Foul Life, for example. Some people will go, it's the best waterfowl show ever made. And then I'll get a critic that'll write in and go, it's nothing but a piece of shit music video with a bunch of loud rock and roll country music over the hunt, and you guys are cooking too much. You're an infomercial. You're Ricky Bobby. It's this and that. Like, they hate it. They hate on it. What's the difference? If somebody goes, man, that's the best show in the world, but then this guy goes, your show sucks. But both of them, neither one of them have credibility as far as being in production, understanding TV or putting it together or any of that. What's the difference? One guy makes you feel good. The other guy cuts your throat and tries to ruin your day. Mm-hmm. Do you just take them both with a grain of salt and keep doing what you do?
Yes.
Or do you go, oh, wow, we're kicking ass because somebody said it's the best TV show in the world? Well, that guy just said it's a piece of shit. So, and then you can say that for food too.
I'll tell you from the ice cream world, and our buddy partner says it all the time. You can't please everybody. Right, you'll get one person that buys a pint of ice cream and says, way too much chocolate chip cookie dough pieces in this, could barely taste the ice cream. You give that same carton to another person and they'll say not enough, chocolate chip cookie dough bites in there. And so I go back and forth in my head. We're selling ice cream, so there should be plenty of ice cream in the container, but I also understand if it's chocolate chip cookie dough, you want those cookie dough, you can't please everybody.
So don't you put the same amount in do you make it in a huge batch and then whatever gets scooped into a pint, that's the cookie dough get into it?
Well, a machine, it's running down a line and there's a feeder that's got an auger that you set at different speeds and different auger spacing so that it puts the same amount into the carton, right? But you control how fast it's going in there. So you could turn it up and put more cookie dough pieces in there. You can turn it down and put less in there. So finding that magic number, where everybody's happy is hard. You try and say the number 5 last time, and maybe 2 people say, hey, I like to see more cookie dough pieces in my ice cream. You put it to 5.5 and you'll get 2 people that go, I'm eating a chocolate chip cookie now. I'm not eating, ice cream anymore. It's hard, like you said, you can't, I said you can't please everybody. And I think your show, same, you'd run into the same problem. There's people out there that just want to see 1 million ducks get slaughtered on camera. And there's people out there that, how many times do you want to see a duck get shot? I want to see camp, and I want to see that cool drone footage, and I want to see, whatever, a famous musician or a baseball player. And I know there's a ton of people out there wanting to know how to properly cook ducks. So I know that you've hit a big demographic of people there. But that same guy that wants to see 1 million of them get killed might not want to know how to cook them. He's happy making jerky with them or whatever he's been doing his whole life. Can't please everybody.
Can't.
I don't believe you can.
So, does a foodie just want to hear him or herself talk?
Yep.
They want to be relevant. What it is?
They want to be relevant.
So they're trying to make a name for themselves, like
you hit it, a self-proclaimed influencer, right? That can be on Instagram or anything.
But to be a real food critic, like you would think that you can't just sit there and go, well, I've eaten it I eat food a lot. We all eat food. That doesn't mean that we have a palate for it. Because if that was the case, then everybody could become the best cook in the world, according to a foodie that doesn't really have the palate for what food can really become. Does that make sense how I'm saying that?
Yeah.
If you just say everything's good, or let's say that, what I mean by that is like, if you have not been trained in culinary arts and you just eat food, what basis do you have to like say something's not good or that it is good? It's just based on what you had, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. But why are you putting it out there for the rest of the world unless you're getting paid by somebody to do this and you're going around and you're making money becoming this food critic? I guess there are food critics that restaurants rely on. Like if there are critics that if they walk into a restaurant and they're sitting there, the restaurant's like, oh God, this could make us or break us.
That have like a publication or something like that.
Yeah, like they're in a book or Food and Beverage Magazine or something like that.
Do those still exist? Yeah. I imagine they do.
Yeah. Food and Beverage Magazine online, Michael Politz gets 14.1 million readers a month.
Holy.
So if Michael goes into a restaurant and he's the founder of Food and Beverage Magazine and he's got that kind of pull with that many readers and he goes on there and says, I ate a American almond beef ribeye and it sucked, that's a big pull.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
People will be, wow. Well, some of them could get curious and go, well, I wonder if he cooked it wrong. American almond beef, that sounds I'm curious. That sounds interesting. My point is that really, if you just eat food your whole life, which we all do, why do we care what other people think, what we think of a place?
Right.
Or what we think of something?
Well, and it's so different because I don't care for tomatoes. I eat pasta sauce and ketchup and all that, but if it doesn't have, fresh mozzarella cheese and balsamic vinegar on it, I won't eat a raw tomato. So if you make me the best, pico de gallo out there, I might not like it because I don't like raw tomatoes. But that doesn't mean it wasn't good. So maybe a guy like you just said that's a real food critic would be able to know what that tastes like, even though it might not be his preference. Where someone that isn't into that game or is a foodie, an amateur critic, is just going to say, yeah, that was terrible.
Well, let's take something simple. Something else that has tomatoes on it, but they're cooked. Pizza, probably one of the most eaten foods in the world. I don't know of what food would be more eaten than pizza, you think? Rice? Probably rice across Asia and different continents, but in America, pizza's got to be one of the top foods eaten, right?
And it's like a universal language, right? I mean,
do we got to fast check it? Is it hamburgers or pizza?
Ooh,
most
hamburgers
eaten
might be.
food in America is...
It's got to be pizza. I'm saying it's got to be pizza.
Wow. Yes, the single food that most Americans would want to eat for the rest of their lives is pizza. 21% of survey participants chose as their answer. It beat out steak, tacos, pasta, and even the undeniably American hamburger.
Really? I mean, I'm not overly surprised, but so if you say pizza, your argument's going to be that anybody could critique a pizza, right?
Well, yeah,
should be able to.
So that's where we're going with this now is what constitutes a good pizza? Because you have marketing campaigns out there, Papa John's. Then you got Little Caesars that advertises like crazy. Then you have mom and pops. You have ones that don't really nationally advertise. You have the Round Tables of the world. You have Domino's that's kind of reinvented themselves. Then you have more custom pizza places, right? That have the more Italian style wood burning ovens and brick ovens.
Artisan pizza,
stuff like this. What constitutes a good pizza?
I mean, it's kind of funny because I like traditional pepperoni pizza. People not from Reno, but JJ's Pizza to me is lights out pizza, and it's just a very traditional.
You think that still,
but I do at times crave what I just said, that more artisan style pizza, that thinner crust, cooked in a brick oven. I had one the other night that was like prosciutto, arugula, cheese, red sauce, and it was unbelievable. But that's like every once in a while for me. If I'm going to go if I'm going to eat pizza with my friends, I'm going to a place like JJ's. What about you?
I think that now I'm not saying like where I go, but I'm looking at it for like what makes a good pizza. Obviously, the base, the foundation of it is the crust, right? So do you like deep dish? Do you like traditional? Do you like thin crust? I'm right in the middle. Like a traditional crust is what I want. Deep dish is just too doughy for me, too big. Like calzones don't do it for me. It's just too much dough. But I think a good pizza is cooked at the right temperature. I think that you get a little bit of the bark on the cheese. You get a little bit of crisp on the onions, a little bit of crisp in the raised edges on the pepperoni, the linguiça. You get a little bit of that crust that it bubbles up, but it doesn't bubble up so bad that it tears through and you see big air pockets in it and stuff. I like pizza that's got good texture of the right amount of oil being used or the right amount of cornmeal, the right amount of substance that gets the cheese and the sauce to stick to the crust in a better way.
Not too
I'm
much
looking
grease.
at all that.
Not too much grease.
Not too much grease. I'm looking at all of that stuff when the pizza comes out to where I want it to be an enjoyable, but I don't want it to be too heavy on the cheese. I want it to have a good amount of vegetables. I don't want it to be too spicy. I don't want the tomato sauce to be too sweet, but I don't want it to be too pungent either. So like I look at all of that to where a piece of pizza is a piece of pizza. If you're just trying to get off on eating up and getting some calories in you and filling up, then yeah, you could grab a piece of Little Caesars and be fine, right? Because cheese on bread with butter on it is hard to F up.
Right.
But a real good pizza that's done right, I'm not kidding. I just came from Tennessee. And I was running with this dude, Jason. I'm not going to say his last name on here. I don't know if he'd want me to. He might. His last name's Perringer, okay? He owns a catering company. And dude, he made these Traeger pizzas. He let me put some of the toppings on, but he made these Traeger pizzas.
I saw that on your story.
Dude, it was the bomb. Like one of the best bites of pizza I've had in a long time.
And that's like an artisan style pizza, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It looked like it, at least. I wasn't there, but the picture or the video I saw. And I like, that's an enjoyable pizza. That's like, that's like that's like you said, cooking a filet mignon versus having your, basic top sirloin steak, for dinner with the family. You're not going to eat, well, I guess you could eat that steak every day, but you're just got done with baseball practice and you got to feed 2 or 3 kids, like you said, you're grabbing that more traditional style pizza, but man, those artisan ones, whew.
And what do you consider artisan?
you know, more like that style, thinner crust, you know, less cheese, light sauce, not a ton of meat, more, you know, you're getting you're not overwhelmed by one ingredient over the other. You know what I mean? So, you know, your typical pizza to me, you know, you're getting a lot of sauce, a lot of cheese. You know, they all pride themselves on double pepperoni, triple pepperoni, cheese in the crust. You know, there's always a lot of ingredients, where those artisan pizzas are, I think, a little bit more simple in, you know, not simple ingredients. They're usually more complex ingredients, but less of them. You know what I mean? They're not like a big, heavy pizza. You're getting, you know, a little bit of each element with the bite.
Yeah, I agree. I think pizza would be, I don't know, like if I was on death row, I don't know, man. A good filet mignon's hard to argue with, but it would be probably at this point in my life would be sushi or a good pizza. Mm-hmm. Like if it's death row, I'm going like a large pie all to myself,
and just mowing it down.
But no, I'll probably take my time, drink it with some like nice Chianti. No, but I would freaking enjoy it. But I just think that it would be hard for me to go into, and I cook a lot. And I've eaten all over the world, all over Europe, South America, Canada, all over the place. But I don't think that I would have it in me to go in there and then publish it and be like, this was the worst piece of pizza I've ever had in my life, or this fish sucked so bad that, because I don't know who gives a shit what I think.
Who gives a shit?
And two, I don't know if I really would feel credible enough. So it makes me wonder how these people like do it, of like, I am a self-proclaimed influencer because I'm building this following based on what? Based on what?
Usually it's some stupid shtick, you know, or something got him some eyeballs on him, and now, you know, that's where it comes out, in my opinion. You know, very few people have just grinded out, you know, criticizing restaurants all through their local town. And
Conor McGregor's not a whiskey maker. He's not a distiller. He's probably growing up not even a drinker. I'm just assuming this.
Right.
Not even a drinker of fine Irish whiskeys or single malt whiskeys or bourbons or scotch or Tennessee sour mash like Jack Daniels, right? But he is the most explosive MMA fighter of all time as far as being able to sell a fight. He's popular, brings Irish fans over, sells out arenas, talks a lot of smack. Whether he wins or loses, he's still like the favorite, right?
A lot of charisma.
He puts his name on that whiskey, he invests in it, sells it for a good bit of money, makes the whole world think that Proper 12's good. But is it?
Yeah.
Jack Daniels does not pay one endorser. They don't pay anybody. He's an owner in that company saying that. Now, he has every right to do that. But he's going out to these people that love him as a fighter. And then you look at a guy like me that I'm known for being a duck hunter, but now I'm trying to sell you beef. What gives me the right to do that? I could sell you a duck call because I know my way around a duck call, and I know how to design a duck call, and I know how to blow a duck call. But now I'm saying, all right, I've ventured off into this company, this American Almond Beef. I'm an investor in it. I'm an owner in it. But it's also unbelievably good. But do I have the right to go do that? I'm not saying that Conor McGregor doesn't have the right to do that. No. But how does he make that whiskey so popular? It's got to have some kind of good to it, right? Because it can't suck and still become that famous is what I'm trying to get at. Or can it? Can The Rock have a shitty tequila and sell the heck out of it based on him being The Rock and him having all this credibility with his fan base?
Yeah. Well, I don't know about credibility, but yes. You're a bad example because you do know how to cook, so you should have picked something else. But I agree. I mean, I think that's two good examples of more than likely
celebrity endorsement.
You know, The Rock doesn't drink.
He drinks tequila. He shows him shooting it on and blending up margaritas on his deal. From what I remember, I don't follow him anymore. No. He drinks tequila. See, that's what I love about The Rock and what pissed me off so bad about who he endorsed for the presidency of the United States, which you should, you know, whether it was bad or good and what he did, it's my opinion. They just stay out of it. But like he seems like a country boy to me. He's got horses. He fishes. He listens to Drake White music. He listens to country music. He listens to good rock music. He's a hard worker. He's an entrepreneur. He's an athlete. Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like what he was trying to. It was kind of like not the right balance for me as far as, well, you stand for all this, but now you're saying you stand for this.
Probably doesn't stand for anything. He just was looking out
An
for
endorsement.
his career.
My point exactly. So really, does that lose him credibility as saying, come watch this movie, it's really good? Well, I can't tell you the last Rock movie that I enjoyed. Now, I haven't seen that many. I tried to watch Central Intelligence or that one with Kevin Hart. I could not even keep it on for 5 minutes. But his fans, his super fans, probably will watch anything he puts out there.
What was the one he did with Will Ferrell? He was only in for a short time, but it was pretty funny. The Replacements or the good guys.
Yeah, but that wasn't The Rock. He was just in the first 5 minutes. That was Mark Wahlberg.
Right, but his first couple minutes in that movie were pretty good.
Was it?
It was funny. I can't think of what else he's been in. What was he in, The Mummy
He
or
was
whatever?
in Standing Tall, which was like the last.
That was a good movie.
I know.
I like that movie.
That was like the Roadhouse, but then there was just a lot of them lately. But I haven't seen like the Jumanjis. I haven't seen
that either.
I haven't seen a lot of the movies that he has out there. So I don't know, like celebrity endorsement, foodies, ambassadors, self-proclaimed influencers. Who are we listening to? Who are we supposed to listen to anymore? It used to be Siskel and Ebert. We give it 2 thumbs down. Well, I ain't going to that movie.
Right. What was the Rotten Tomatoes or whatever? Remember the popcorn? I think that was local, but you know.
The Rotten Tomatoes do that. Every time I look at Rotten Tomatoes, they don't like any movies.
Right.
It's like they're just
if you can get a 60 on that, you're good. But remember it was in the paper or something here, and it would have like the popcorn was like all excited, and that was a good movie, and then there was one where it was like spilled over, and that was a bad movie. I used to look at that to see what movies I should go watch. You're right though. Life in general, we're pulled and steered and influenced in so many different directions, and I think a lot of people have forgotten how that affects real people. You know what I mean? And that's what, like you said, if that guy from foodandbeverage.com gives you a poor rating on your steak or your rubs or something, you could potentially lose millions of dollars.
But I'm asking for it by putting it out there.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm asking, like you read the reviews so far on the Provider dry rubs, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, this is unreal. I love it. It's not too salty. So many rubs are salty. These rubs are legit. Like I've eaten a lot of dry rubs. Like I worked my ass off for 10 months coming up with these dry rub profiles, going back and forth with the mixologist and getting them right and saying, yes, this one's perfect. This one's got it. That's it. So who am I to say that another dry rub, there's a lot of good dry rubs out there. Lots. We just have a different stance on it, a different approach. But so far, a lot of people are like, oh my God, these are awesome. But I am asking for it. If I send those to Food and Beverage Magazine or a foodie and they come back and say, this Crosshairs rub tastes like a jar of pickles and it sucks, I wouldn't use this, then I'm sitting there going, damn it, why did I even freaking put it out there? Because on the other end of the spectrum is, this is the best rub I've ever tried. Y'all need to try this.
Right.
But then again, does that critique hold water?
But you hit another thing. Certain people love salt. Certain people don't. So say you send it to a guy that's a big salt lover and he gets it and goes, not enough salt in this.
But dry rubs aren't supposed to be real salty.
Well, but I'm just saying, maybe that's what that dude likes, because you said a lot of them are salty. So maybe he's used to one that's got a ton of salt in it. To no fault of your own and to what, caters to other tastes, you could get a negative review. And I get that you're asking for it. You're asking for it in any business, right? If you open up a car detailing shop, someone could say they don't like the way you clean their car.
If you're an employee of a company and you clock in 9 to 5 every day, you're being critiqued. You have what they call reviews.
100%.
If you own your own business, you're going to get critiqued. Your
Sales
employees are going to say this sucks. There's going to be sales. There's not going to be sales. There's going to be a good acceptance of your brand when you go to market, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. In one way or the other, we're all putting ourselves out there to be critiqued. It just seems like in today's world, there's a lot of professional critiquers that get to hide behind that keyboard.
Amateur critiquers.
Yeah, they're not qualified to even do it.
I was just going to say, usually in that example, you've got a manager that's qualified to critique people.
Him or hers worked their way up.
Right. I guess that's kind of we've been talking heavily about either retail or, the food service industry, where you're going to get a lot of the amateur critiquers. You're going to put a product out there, you're going to put a steak out there, you're going to put a rub out there, and someone's going to purchase it, and then you're at their mercy, so to speak, of what their taste might be like, which is hard. You know what I mean? Your beef is second to none. What if a guy has it served to him grossly overcooked? and he blames it on you,
100%.
What if somebody puts your dry rub on something and then the guy goes back over the top of it with a tablespoon of salt and the guy goes, oh, this is done in that rub.
Well, hopefully they know how to cook.
Right. But a lot of risk out there, right? And you got a lot of people, like you just said, amateur critiquers, that some of them have a big following, man. Some of them.
A lot of them have big followings.
Yeah. And then they can, like I said, you can directly, hurt a person's business, person's livelihood. What if you're in a bad mood that day and everything tastes like shit? What if you're hungover? What if you're not feeling well? And you let that cloud your judgment and you're critiquing somebody's livelihood. It's a bigger responsibility maybe than they think.
That's the point, is that they're not thinking about how it can affect. Like that movie, going back to Jon Favreau and the chef, that completely changed the outcome of his life. And in Hollywood, it turned out to be okay because he moves to Miami. He buys the food truck. He falls in love again with his ex-wife. He makes the Cabano sandwich. He becomes friends with all these people in the inner cities, the inner linings of Miami. And boom, he's on. And then that chef comes back and critiques it again and says, wow, this is unbelievable. So really he wins in the end, but that's Hollywood.
Yep.
But a lot of these shows that you see, whether it's Guy Fieri or Hell's Kitchen with Gordon Ramsay, they're critiquing people. They're saying you're not going to go on to the next round because her meatloaf is better than yours. Well, that was my grandma's recipe. Well, your grandma didn't know how to cook meatloaf that good. You were just being told it was supposed to be that way. This is different. Now you're out, and now you got to go live with that you're not as good as this girl was in this judge's eyes. These shows are all over. There's competition in everything that we do. You're being critiqued in everything that you do. I don't know. I guess it's just that you have to have broad shoulders. You have to let it just slide off your back and be like, hey, I got to keep doing it. I believe in this product. I believe in this dry rub. I believe in this pizza, whatever. I'm not trying to feed the world crap. But we have a lot of different critics out there now that have the ability to sway people based on their social media following and their overall reach.
I just watched it was like a barbecue competition show, and the dude had been making this certain kind of sausage, smoked sausage his whole life. And then he had a heart attack or something like that. So he cut all the salt out of this sausage, you know what I mean? Because he had this heart attack. And when he served it to the judges, they all said it's not good. It needed salt. And he said, well, I had a heart attack. I can't eat that salt. And they were like, but you can't cook that. You would have to adjust this recipe all the way. You can't just take all the salt out of it. It's no good anymore. And at least that was an honest critique. You know what I mean? And the dude even was like, you're right. I just was more thinking about myself, my own personal heart health, not really that sausage. That's an honest critique, probably by 3 or 4 people that deserve to give that critique. I don't remember who the judges were, but, there's certain people qualified to do this job, do that job. They barbecued their whole life.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would really hope so that the people that judge the Best in the West Rib Cook-Off have experience and understand their palate and what the taste is. Because really, you're putting all your eggs in a basket of people that may or may not have the credibility to even be that judge.
Well, and you tapped on it earlier, man, that it used to be that if you were a model, GQ or whoever picked you up and took your photographs and put you in a publication. Publications are all but digital now, right? So now you got all these digital models, right? A good-looking guy takes a picture of themselves on a phone, puts it on, social media, gets a bunch of likes, and all of a sudden they're a model. It's like there used to be higher standards, I guess, barriers to entry for things. I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent, but it is definitely, there's some responsibility out there on those that choose to do this kind of stuff. And I hope that, they take it seriously all the way around.
And how does this apply to, us of being able to, I guess word of mouth is going to travel. If you go in and have a bad experience, right? And you have let's say at a sushi bar, you're probably going to tell your friends, man, I ain't going back till the fish wasn't fresh. That's on the restaurant, because I have eaten enough raw fish to know if it's fresh, if it's prepared right, if it's been cut right and taken care of and maintained the right way. If I get a fishy smell or a fishy taste or bad octopus or bad salmon or something, I'm probably going to hesitate going back there. Do you give them another chance? When you start dealing with something like fish, you open up a cooler and get a fishy smell, it makes you afraid to open up a cooler for a minute. So when you start talking about eating fish and going to a raw fish restaurant, and you're probably not going to go back there. Will you ever go back there? Maybe. But all it takes is one little scrutiny like that of smelling it or tasting it wrong and being like, I'm not coming back here. It's not fresh enough. Mm-hmm. And in today's world of sushi bars, there's a lot of inner coastal sushi bars now. You can go to Wichita, Kansas, in the middle of the country, and there's sushi. Mm-hmm. How are they keeping it fresh?
They're not.
Is it flying in there every day? What ocean are they getting it from? I mean,
it would be so expensive if it was. I mean,
you know what I mean? Like there's a lot to take into consideration when you're dealing with these instances of like word of mouth. You're going out there and you're opening up a restaurant or you're putting a product out there. You're opening yourself up for critique. The problem is that there's a lot of critiques out there that might not be qualified, but who is and who isn't? That's the question.
That is the question. And I hope that people are, open-minded enough to give a place a second chance. You know what I mean? Give a product a second chance. Service, we barely tapped on service. If you're ixnaying a restaurant from one or I don't know, it doesn't apply to products, but a restaurant from one instance of poor service, that's a disservice to your community. You know what I mean? I think that if you've gone to a restaurant 4 or 5 times and you've gotten bad service, by all means, if if their management isn't going to take it into consideration, you get one bad meal at a place, I sure hope you're going back and trying it a second time before you say I'm never eating there again. It's just battles can't be won and lost in that kind of arena, from one sampling. And I think unfortunately in our society, everybody's quick to do that. You know what I mean? It's just, oh, I'm never going to that place again. I hear people say it all the time. I'm probably guilty of saying it. I typically try a place. I know there's a restaurant here in town that I've been to at least 5 times, and I've gotten bad service there almost every single time. And
what brings you back?
I want to do right by our community. You know what I mean?
But they're not doing right by the community.
No, I know. But I mean, I guess I hope that they would make it better, for a local restaurant. If a chain restaurant, I would never go back, but not never go back. But I'm saying in this particular instance where it's been bad every time, but it's a local establishment. You want them to do well. Again, if they're not going to address it, you're right. They're not doing right by the community. You're right.
I'm just saying that if
you broke that down for me, thank you.
Well, if it's a social, if it's a service deal, it's social skills. It's something to where the management has to maintain that, because service is a big part of the restaurant or the retail experience.
100%.
When I get, like, I was in a hobby store, craft store with my daughter, and go ahead.
Sorry.
There it was. And this lady comes up to us and she's like, "What are y'all looking for?" And I'm like, "Well, we got this list." She goes, "Give me the list." Boom. I'm talking like 4 minutes. Just like, here's this, here's that, here's this, here's what you do with this. This is, I've seen this project before. And I'm like, that was freaking awesome. She like literally, and she made a comment like, "This is my 3rd store. They've had me in this week." So obviously they put her in a bunch of stores, probably because she's good.
Right.
She's like, "It's good. It might take me a minute to find a couple of these, but I'll get you on the right track." Like that brings me back there.
I love that.
That brings me right back there of like, man, I'm going back there. And then you go back there and she's at another store, and then you got this freaking waterhead in there that's like, cigarette break. And then you're like, shit, what happened to Angie? She was unbelievable. But that is everything in every experience. Like a bad food experience can be softened up by good service. If there's smiles and the waitress or waiter is knowledgeable of the menu, if you ask for a recommendation, if you ask what else is there to do in town this night, and they're real pleasurable to talk to, and they've taken the time to hone their skills in for that job instead of just being like, it's whatever. This is just a pick-me-up gig for a little bit. If it's a good wet restaurant and they care about their people, they're probably going to have a staff that's going to be knowledgeable of the area, knowledgeable of the menu, knowledgeable of the flavor profiles, be able to get you a good recommendation. And that's what I look for, is like, when I don't like to go to a lot of chains. Chains are they had to be good at one time. They all started as mom and pop somewhere probably, and they grew into something that became famous. But I like going, when I go to somewhere, outside of where I'm from, I like to go to something that's local to that area. Whether it's a fish house or whether it's a bar and grill or whatever it is. I like to experience the flavor of that place. Applebee's in Chico is the same as Applebee's in Reno. It might just have different servers at it, but the menu's the exact same. That's what corporate does in franchises. They make sure you cook their exact menu. I like to like really experience the area for what it's worth. When you go to Memphis, you go to Rendezvous. You don't, or, you go to Capital Barbecue or Rendezvous. You don't go to Tops is good too. There's a lot of local barbecue houses there, but you wouldn't go to like McDonald's and get a barbecue chicken sandwich.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I want to experience the local flavor. McDonald's is a terrible example of barbecue. I just can't think of a national barbecue chain. Is there one?
Dickies.
There's one. Yeah, Dickies. I wouldn't go to Dickies in Memphis.
Right. Yeah.
I'd go experience the local barbecue. Not that Dickies isn't good.
Sure.
At one time it was local, but I can get Dickies here.
Right.
So I always try to go in and like experience something local, and I want the experience. If you go to the Rendezvous Barbecue House in Memphis, I'm not a huge fan of the food. The dry rub ribs are what they're known for, and they're okay to me. But the service is amazing. The stories. There's the shortest tenure waiter there is 10, 12, 15 years.
Wow.
Some of them are 30, 40 years. Waiters that have been taken care of by the owner of this company and the family.
That's cool.
I love that kind of stuff. The food's just okay. The experience is awesome. I don't go, sorry to interrupt you, because I'm going back to our basis of this. I don't go there and go, don't ever go to Rendezvous. The ribs suck. The ribs are fine. To each their own what they like. Yeah. The ribs are good. They're not my favorite. The sausage and cheese plate, unbelievable. Unreal. The dry rub and the seasoning they put on it is out of this world. But the service is amazing. The busboys, the maitre d', the waitresses, the waiters, they're all amazing people.
Whole experience.
I love that. Even though I know there's better barbecue out there, I go to Rendezvous at least one time every time I'm in Memphis.
I was just going to tell you that Rock took us to the 5th Street Steakhouse, and I'd been there before. But course knowledge, obviously he's been there many times. You've been there many times. He ordered this, he said, we got to get a shrimp cocktail. It's unbelievable. I typically would never order that at a restaurant, especially at like a steakhouse. I just wouldn't do it. It was unreal. Yeah, I could have just eaten that. Yeah. I could have just eaten that.
That place is unreal.
It's so good.
5th Street's on a different level. Service, the bar, the atmosphere, the culture, then the food, from pork chops to the asparagus to the mushrooms to the horseradish. The steaks are a given. The lobster tails there are amazing, but they fly them in fresh out of the bay every day. It's an amazing restaurant.
Yeah. And we, even during it was all this COVID, where going to a restaurant's difficult, very, very difficult in California. And it was, like you said, the atmosphere was awesome. I love seeing all the, waiters and waitresses and busboys hustling around, and, the hostess, and just all, that big open kitchen, you can see everybody busting their ass. It's cool. It's a cool experience. It's a whole experience to be at that restaurant. And, I'm sure there was a Applebee's or some other chain restaurant around there, but Chico, downtown, you go to the 5th Street, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And that's how word of mouth spreads, is that I've been going there for 6 years now, and I've never had a bad meal. Never have had a bad experience, even though sometimes maybe the mushroom was overcooked or the appetizer came out a little bit late because they were busy. I would never sit there and go out and go, this... I've always just said this place is unreal. Yeah. It's awesome. That's how word of mouth works. But again, a foodie would go on and tell their whole downline about that place. And I don't know if I ever would do that. But again, why wouldn't I? Yeah. So is being a foodie bad? I don't know. I don't even know what a foodie is, first of all. I still haven't figured out what a foodie is. I don't know what a hipster is. I don't know what the new generation of raising babies is with the people that are coming up of age right now. There's a lot of terms that are being thrown around out there that I really don't know what they are.
I would argue that most people don't know what they are.
I couldn't tell you what a hipster is.
No.
Because it has the word hippie in it.
Right.
You're hip, but you're also a gangster, hip and stir. So it's like a hippie thug.
It's like a 60s, late 80s mix.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I do love the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about the 60s.
Wasn't around during the 60s.
But I like wearing fanny packs.
What's that make you?
Stud.
I was going to say a purveyor of convenience. They have your wallet and everything right there in the front.
Everybody makes fun of me for wearing them.
I could see that too.
They're amazing.
I just saw
It's a satchel.
there's a documentary about that Boston art theft. Did you watch that yet?
How do you find out about documentaries? That's another phenomenon.
Somebody told me about it. But the guy, one of the security guys, this happened in the 90s, I believe. Late 80s, 90s anyway. The security guard that they duct taped up was wearing a fanny pack, and they made sure to show the photo of him duct taped up with his fanny pack, and they made sure to, when they did like the reenactment of him, kind of making his rounds, they showed that fanny pack again. They really made sure to accentuate that fanny pack, and I did think about you when I saw it. His was like a multicolored, not really as cool as yours,
I have like probably over 20 of them now.
And it's getting to summer. That's when you tend to wear yours the most, don't you think?
Yeah, pre-COVID, I wear them every concert, every gig, every special event.
Did you go to a concert the other night?
2 of them.
With a lot of people there?
Yeah, sold out, both of them. I mean, obviously it was like the social distance. Like the room holds 1,500 people, and I think they put 850 in it. Or no, it holds 2,500 people, and they put 850 in it both nights.
Where was that?
Graceland, Memphis. Right at Elvis's house.
So they're kind of getting back to having some shows and stuff? People are?
A lot of people are booking shows. Shit, I've seen shows in Florida that are wide open.
Really?
Like shoulder to shoulder.
Man.
Daytona looked like it was shoulder to shoulder at the music festival that Luke Combs played.
Dang.
So we really didn't figure out anything in this whole deal. You're allowed to critique. Who do you listen to? If somebody says that that's the best sushi I've ever eaten, what credibility do they have to say that? Do you take the time out to go read or listen to what these so-called foodies are saying? I need to be educated more on this. Like, if I have somebody like Chad Ward tell me, go eat the Char Bar in Kansas City, I believe him because the dude knows barbecue. Mm-hmm. So then I meet the owner of the Char Bar, Mitch Benjamin, and this dude knows barbecue. And the Char Bar is awesome. What a great name for a freaking restaurant.
That is
too.
nice.
And so like that recommendation, Chad Ward knows what he's talking about. I'm going to take it. But if you told me, go eat this barbecue, it's the best I've ever had, I don't know if you have any credibility in judging barbecue because you hate to cook, you don't know how to cook, you like to throw things on the Traeger once in a while. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you really eat fine food, but your dad knows how to cook. You've had some good meals. How could I not trust you that you say it's good barbecue? You know what I'm saying? Who has the ability to critique?
I don't believe I do. I might just make a suggestion. My suggestions are centered more like yours, though. If I have a good experience, good service, what I think is a good meal, I'll recommend it all the time. But I don't have the knowledge to break down a meal and give you what it should have been or how it should be. Or nobody should listen to me on food. But I know what fun restaurants are. I know what a good experience is. If somebody asked me where to go eat lunch tomorrow, I could give them 5 restaurants that I've enjoyed,
So what is the funnier movie? Hangover 1 or Wedding Crashers?
I would probably go Wedding Crashers.
That's where we're going to pick it up next time right here on Breaking It Down. We're finally going to break down our opinions and thoughts on Wedding Crashers with Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn. There's so many good actors in that. Bradley Cooper, Christopher Walken, lots more.
Stogies?
Will Smith. Against another Bradley Cooper movie, which was done by who is it? Todd what? Todd Smith? Todd. Oh my gosh. I know
can't
that.
think of it last name either.
He does a cameo in every one of his movies.
We need a fact checker.
Todd what?
I'm trying to look
The
it up real
Hangover
quick.
Part 1, which was another hilarious movie. Then we should do a bracket of like super bad because it's a hilarious movie. Todd who? Phillips. Todd Phillips. There's so many funny movies out there. I think the funniest movies have been made in the last 10 years in the history of comedies. Because you got the Caddyshacks, you got the Fletches, you got what's the big Belushi one? God, I'm an idiot.
Not Blues Brothers.
No, the other one about the college house, the fraternity
Animal House.
Revenge of the Nerds, classic, 16 Candles. I think the funniest movies have been made in the last 10 years. Bill Murray's got hilarious movies. Okay. He's had some What About Bob's and freaking Groundhog Day, but Wedding Crashers, super bad. Hangover 1. Step Brothers even had some shit in it where you're like fall down funny.
I think that's a great movie too.
Old School. I think the funniest movies in the history of cinema have been made in the last 10 years.
I think you might have to push that out to 15 years.
15 years? Maybe 15 years. But that's what we're going to talk about next time is we're going to start with Hangover 1 versus Wedding Crashers. And then we're going to talk about comedies because we've already hit on Eddie Murphy a little bit, which there's more to talk about Eddie Murphy because his new comedy is like you can't even last 5 minutes in it. Like what makes a guy make that movie?
Clint and I watched it, Turkey Camp.
You got through the whole thing?
We told ourselves we would watch it with an open mind.
Is it the worst you've ever seen?
At least 6 to 7 to 10 Bud Lights each in us. No one laughed. We did make it through the whole thing. It was the worst.
Where'd you watch it? Rocky's Big TV?
Yeah. It's the worst movie I've ever seen. Maybe not the worst I've ever seen.
How do you do that? How do you do that as Eddie Murphy? He must have got paid a butt ton of money from Prime, from Amazon. Money. And you just ruined the legacy of another great comedy. But that's the thing is that there's a lot of funny Eddie Murphy movies that were made before 15 years ago. But are they as funny? Is Beverly Hills Cop 1 as funny as Wedding Crashers? No. Is 48 Hours as funny as Hangover, in my opinion? No. Is Coming to America as funny as either one of them? It could be. That could be the one that would have me going. The barbershop scenes, the donation scene.
Just the language.
Coming to
Arsenio
America.
Hall's freaking, it's just.
All right. That's breaking it down. We'll be back with another episode. Jack Daniels, thank you for sponsoring our podcast. This Life Ain't For Everybody. Breaking it down with Chad and Alex. Hit that button, Tom Jake. This is Brent Cobb. The morning's going to come.
Rock out from this coming